Have no fear, Senior Spin Zone is here, breaking down Arizona State's basketball, which has broken us down. Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome into PHNX Sun Devils, of course, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. As you can tell, I am not Anthony Totri. That man is talking to a bunch of assistant football coaches right now, and then he's scurrying on down here to join us for the second half of the show. But, of course, I am joined, as always, by our trusted, beloved captain, that of course, Captain Redbeard, behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. What's up, everybody in the chat, including BC, who's dropping the sunglasses emoji. Make sure you're also dropping a like on this video as well. It does help out us over at PHNX Sports so much, and we appreciate all of you, the most important people, that of course, everybody in our live chat, watching on YouTube after the fact, and of course, our beautiful audio listeners who sometimes don't get all the love that they deserve. Once again, hit that like button, subscribe to PHNX Sports. We're talking hoops, we're talking football. It's a double dip kind of show, so grab some dips, some chips, some drinks, whatever you want to do, and sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Captain, oh Captain, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, man.
Just hanging in there.
Ready for a win.
Ready for a
win.
Yeah, I mean,
Tech.
Your prediction of 2 wins in the final 4 games for Arizona State men's basketball is not looking awesome, considering they have 1 game left and they haven't won a game. Are you extending your prediction to the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they're at least winning round 1 of the Big 12 tourney.
Yep.
We
don't know who they play yet, right?
Not yet. It feels like they're destined to play Utah, though.
Yeah. It's either me and Totri were talking about this yesterday. We either want them to play Utah or K-State, but probably Utah.
I mean, Utah beat the brakes off them last time. I think they've at least played K-State a little closer. I mean, the reality is whoever you play, you're going to be short-handed. JJ, of course, in here saying, let's get into it. JJ, this show is specifically for you. It's just you and me, JJ, because I know it's been a rough season for you, a diehard Hoops fan, and of course all the diehard ASU Hoops fans. It's been rough, to say the least, not just from a results standpoint, but also from just like an enjoyment standpoint. Like, there are some teams that are fun to watch. There are some teams that, you see the vision, you see what they're building, but the wins just aren't there. And I'll be honest with everybody, that's just not been Arizona State this season. You all know the record. They're 13-17 overall, but the real damning number is 4-15 in conference. Had incredible non-con play, hit the Big 12, and just immediately started stumbling out of the gate. Jackson Settle says, the best thing was winning the Acrisure Championship. Take that, New Mexico! Take that, St. Mary's. You can't ever take that away from us, okay? The banner, the Acrisure Championship banner, hangs forever in Desert Financial Arena. And don't you forget it. Lobos, don't you forget it. No, but on the real, though, it feels like that was like 16 years ago. Like, genuinely, it feels like that was forever ago. And I'll be frank, one of my positives is not the non-con schedule. Yeah, they had some good wins. They played some teams close, but for me, the only way that you could take away a positive from the non-con is if you turn it into con, aka Big 12 conference wins, and that's just not something that this team has done. Listen, not only has it been an on-the-court thing when it comes to the basketball and, of course, the coaching, Bobby Hurley, all the conversation surrounding that, you then also have injuries on top of it. Adam Miller, Jaden Quain, Sannon was injured in the middle of the season. BJ Freeman gets dismissed from the team. It's been a really rough ride. So I was sitting back last night knowing that Anthony Totri would be gone for the first half of this episode, and I thought to myself, what do I want to talk about? And then I realized that it had nothing to do with ASU. No, I'm kidding. I want to talk about James Harden, but I'm not going to do that considering he just dropped 50 again because he's kind of like really, really, really good. Jackson says best win was the GCU game at Footprint. Y'all, let me know what you think the best win of the season was, because I think the number one biggest positive, point blank period, from this entire season has been watching the arrival of Jaden Quains. The biggest moments of joy, as, you know, I guess wrestling fans would put it, I think, you know, other sports fans would put it, like the pop, right? The biggest pops of the season from me personally watching these games here from PHNX Studios has come from Jaden Quains. His two-way ability, blocking, deflecting shots, his emergence into an offensive role. I don't want to say like he arrived on the offensive scene, because he certainly has a lot of work to do in that department. But as a 17-year-old who has to come back to college next year, watching him grow week in and week out was special. And I'll be honest with you, it's going to sting a little bit if he does leave, which I think is certainly on the table. But right now, while he's still a Sun Devil, I'm looking back and I'm appreciating everything. And if he does come back next year, it would be a massive, massive, massive win for this program, because you saw him, I think, cement himself as somebody who has the potential to go into the top 10 of the NBA draft, legitimately, especially if he does work on that jump shot that he's been taking, you know, up and down throughout this season. If he works on his handle, his ability to pass out of double teams. But quite frankly, I think the best thing for his draft stock would be to be on a team that is better suited to utilize him and his strengths and doesn't just kind of throw him into the fire. And I genuinely hope that Arizona State is the school that can do that next year. And I think there's a chance that they can. I don't know if it can be with Bobby. Maybe. I don't think so. Maybe. But I think that is what needs to happen for him. Jackson also says the West Virginia win was one of the best of the season. I mean, that's clearly their best win in Big 12 play. I don't even think it's relatively close, because if you think about it, you have 4 wins in the Big 12. 2 of those came against Colorado. 1 of those came against Kansas State, who was playing terrible basketball at the time. And then somehow, some way, you go on the road against number 23 West Virginia, a place where they were not losing, a place where their home court advantage was crazy. And they beat them 75-57. Jackson says, what are you looking forward to next year with this season coming to an end? Well, Jackson, I was going to save that for the end, but since you asked so politely, I'll jump ahead a little bit. Now, this is more of like a prediction of hope, because this could definitely go off the rails. I'm hoping that this program has a clear direction going forward. And I personally believe that clarity comes from moving on from Bobby Hurley. I've been rough on Bobby Hurley. I have basically said that I'm done. Now, there are lots and lots to love about how Bobby Hurley approaches coaching a program. The passion, the players love him. He can clearly recruit, especially with limited resources. But putting all of that aside, this program lacks something on the court. It lacks a culture. It lacks a direction. And I'm hoping that when you have now seen what you have become in the Big 12 and realize that those days of mediocrity surviving in the Pac-12 are over, I am hoping that clarity comes from this all, because this feels like rock bottom. This feels like the point of no return. Not only is it just the on-court coaching with Bobby, but of course you have the BJ Freeman saga and everything. You have the fact that he straight up said that the team doesn't really listen to him. It just feels like he's lost the program, and I hate it. I'm rooting for Bobby. I want Bobby to win so bad, but it's just not working out. And so I'm hoping that going forward, this program can have some sort of clear identity and mindset for what it's going to be going forward. Because right now, I don't think that's the case. This isn't the school where the low-star prospects come and work hard and put their name on the map. This isn't the school that's constantly plucking kids out of JUCO and sending them up to the next level, or from the lower levels in the transfer portal. And I know what you're about to say, Eric, half the roster was built. Over half the roster was built from players who are coming from lower level college programs and coming to a big time one. Yeah, but what happened? Did it lead to success? You can't build your culture and identity around something that doesn't lead to wins and doesn't lead to success. Okay, you're the program that gets the high star recruits, right? You get your Josh Christophers, your Bagleys, your Tayshaun Cherries, your Lou Dorts, right? This year, your Quaintances, your Sannons. But what do you do with it? You don't want that to be your identity, the program that gets the 5 stars and does nothing with it. Something needs to change. William says it. Either Bobby's coaching philosophy or new coach entirely. Either way, the decision needs to be made sooner rather than later. And as much as I would love to say it's got to be on Bobby to get a new identity, that just doesn't usually happen for coaches. It really doesn't. And I know we've kind of we've steered all the way out into the negative again. But I just think that going forward, a clear positive for this program is that you now have a clear picture of what you should not do, how you cannot operate in the Big 12. You know now that the standard's different. There is no surviving without adapting in the Big 12. There is no business as usual. And football and the 3 other Big 12 championships that you have won in there has shown you that you have the dogs to compete. You have the horses to compete. You have the money to compete. Do you have the facilities? Do you have the arena? Well, no, but you're working on that. You're doing as good as you can at this point, considering the fact that it should have been done years ago, but you're getting there. You need to change something. You need to hold yourself to a different standard. I don't know what that is. I think it's moving on from Bobby, but I'm not sure exactly what ASU did. So here are the 2 positives that I have so far. Number 1 is the arrival, the emergence of Jaden Quaintance, and I think the ability that he can come back next year. It does leave the door open for 2 years at Arizona State. I don't know if he'll be here. I'll be honest with you. I think if I was the kid, I would be looking at other options. If Bobby Hurley returned, if not, I would give it a chance and I would stay here, and I want him to stay here. But the fact that we got to witness somebody who I believe will be an impactful NBA player, not on the levels of James Harden, who's won MVPs and scored 50 the other night. I'm just a James Harden fanboy. But I think somebody who can be a lottery pick, it can represent Arizona State well. I just hope that he's able to represent Arizona State for 2 years before doing that. But nonetheless, when it comes to actually watching basketball, you love what you saw from Jaden Quaintance this year. The dude is an absolute bona fide killer, and he's going to get even better considering he is just 17 years old. The other positive, this is the one I was going to say for the end, but of course, Jackson asking the good questions, getting the good answers out of me. Thank you, Jackson, and everybody in our chat right now. But Jackson asking me, what about, the looking forward? What's your positive note? You gotta hit a low point to find your way forward. It happens in life. It happens in sports. It happens in movies. It happens in TV shows. You hear it, you see it, you read it. Some people just have to hit their lowest. Sometimes in life, you just gotta go through some bleep to get through the other side better, more focused, a clear idea on who you need to be and what you need to become. Some call it a come to Jesus moment. I'm going to call it a come to Sparky moment. Arizona State basketball has had their come to Sparky moment this season. Doesn't really matter what they do the rest of the year. We're going to talk about it, but nothing can change what's happened. The choice is, what are you going to do moving forward? And my choice for moving forward is to continue to talk about some positives in ASU basketball. Look ahead to the final regular season game and, of course, the first postseason game of this season, and do it all with you, the most important people listening, watching, chatting, all after our first break. See, Captain Redbeard's a smart guy. All of our producers are smart guys, including our producer for PHNX Sons. His name is Noah. Now, let me tell you a little story about Noah. Noah was able to ride in a Waymo for the first time over this past weekend because Noah went to Extra Innings Festival, and Noah likes to have some fun, to say the least, and he wanted to throw back a couple of pops, a couple of drinks, and he didn't want to put other people in danger, so he decided to call a Waymo there and back, and by the end of his night, he was feeling quite good, to say the least, and he got to step into an all-electric Jaguar I-Pace, completely autonomous vehicle that stepped in, and he felt safe because it has over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. The first company to serve as a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel in 2015. That is a decade, folks. A decade of Waymos. And of course, it culminated with producer Noah blasting some EDM music, drunk as hell, because he could play whatever music he wanted going back home at 2 a.m. That is just the wonderful stuff that you could do over at Waymo. Get to spring training, get around the valley, spring football. Download the Waymo One app and ride today. And I, of course, mentioned producer Noah likes to have a good time. Me, I'm more the responsible type. You know me, right, Captain? Exactly. He's nodding his head. And that's why he's our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. They are the official retail banking partner of Arizona State University, but most importantly, they are the official retail banking partner of the Ruby family. Not just me, but of course, my parents and my grandparents who have all been using Desert Financial Credit Union. My grandparents had an account, my parents had an account, and as soon as I started working, guess where my first job was in high school, chat? Guess where you think I worked as my first job? I started making money and putting it over with Desert Financial Credit Union. They've been around for more than 84 years. They are a team of financial experts committed to their members, aka me, aka you, offering financial solutions tailored to help real people achieve their financial goals and dreams. Now, the only bad part about me and DFCU is I didn't wait for this deal to sign up. Right now, you can open a free checking account online and get $200 plus your free choice of 3 Arizona State University Visa debit cards. Go to desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started. What up, 1968, Jackson William, JJ, Gerald, Mango Man, who says my first job was at Desert Financial. Not true. Not true. They might have just kept me there. Might have been the greatest bank teller of all time. I will tell you, it was at a grocery store chain, but not like the massive, it's a big one, but not like the massive ones. So you guys let me know where you think my first job was. You're going to hear it and you're going to be like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Danny says, I feel bad for the players this year because of injuries. I do too. JJ will answer your question in a second. But my next positive comes from a negative. Alston Mason has been put in a position unfair to anybody in college basketball, let alone unfair to a small guard. But because of injuries, because of a lack of depth, Alston Mason's averaging like almost 40 minutes per game. It's utterly ridiculous. That being said, Alston Mason is hooping. HOOPING. Alston Mason is hooping. And the fact that we have seen him step up throughout all this, culminating in that performance against Arizona, was incredible. He's so much fun to watch. I remember watching his tape when he transferred here, and now we're starting to see some of the things that he was asked to do when he was the guy at his last stop. JJ saying Mason's been on fire. He has been absolutely hooping, asking if Alston Mason is a senior. I do believe that Alston Mason is a senior. You have a lot of seniors on this team. Alston Mason is a senior. Bashir Jihad is a senior. BJ Freeman, no longer on the team, is a senior. You also have... No way, dude. I went to the Arizona State roster on ESPN. They still have Jose Perez on here. That's hilarious. Adam Miller also a senior. Yeah, Danny, he is unfortunately gone, but he's just been incredible. He's been so much fun to watch. Same thing with Quaintance. And JJ asks, have I heard anything about JQ's chances to play Saturday or in the conference tournaments? And also asking about Adam Miller's availability as well. So I'm going to be honest with you, JJ. I don't personally have any information on these things. I'm more the talk guy. I'm not the report guy. However, if I was a betting man, if I was a guessing man, I would say absolutely no Jaden Quaintance. Lower body injury, 7-footer who's 17 years old. You know, I know he's a competitor. I'm sure he wants to play, man. But we're talking about somebody who, if he gets a healthy offseason, can really grow and develop his game going into the year that should be his final year in college basketball before he goes in the lottery. I just don't think that he pushes a lower body injury to get there. I want to see him play selfishly for our chances to win, but as looking out for his future, and Sharon says Kyle Dodd on Spaces last night with Ralph said not to expect him for the rest of the season. I wouldn't put my money on it, man. I mean, he's a competitor. I'm sure he wants to play, but I wouldn't get it. Adam Miller, on the other hand, I think if I had to put money on it, I would say Adam Miller plays one of those two games. Probably both, considering that he suited up against U of A but didn't play. He's got to be close. He's a senior. He started over 100 games. I have a feeling he's going to want to end on the court. So I would guess yes on Adam Miller. I would guess no on Jaden Quaintance, which would be a big blow. But, you know, a little off script, but a positive that I've taken away, at least since Quaintance has gone down, is we have seen Sean Phillips. Sean Phillips, who might be the player on the roster that I have given the hardest time over this season because of his God-given natural ability, 7 feet tall, can jump out of the gym, you know, has all the physical tools and the presence to be a dominant force down low in college on both ends. And he just never used that properly, in my opinion. Well, since Jaden Quaintance has gone down and Sean Phillips has had to play until he fouls out, basically, which unfortunately has happened, I think he's played really well and a lot better than where he was before. Not just because he has more minutes, but I've seen him using his body and his athleticism more on defense, blocking and altering shots. I've seen him go up strong because he knows that he has to shoot. I think that's been a pretty big positive for this team. And that is not a senior. That is a junior in Sean Phillips Jr., ironically enough. And if you can get that type of center play from him and return Jaden Quaintance next season, I know it's a lot of ifs, that's a really good start to building one of the better defenses in the Big 12. And if Quaintance can develop a jump shot, you're looking at a double 7-footer, basically. I know Quaintance isn't 7 foot yet. He'll get there, I bet. Lineup. If Quaintance can develop that jump shot into something a little bit more consistently, you know, that is something that if you do have a new coach and these guys decide to stick around, that's something that you can absolutely build on. And I don't know if you can do anything for the rest of this season to really build on things, but I have a feeling these are Bobby's last 2 games coaching Arizona State. And as we move on from the positives, chat, I want you to let me know. Go down in the comments and let me know which positives you think were the best from this season. If I missed any, I'm sure I did. There's always beauty in some of the things when you love the sport, especially basketball. Whether it's a win, a moment, a player, whatever it is. Let me know if I missed anything on the positivity standpoint. But back to the negative. 2 games guaranteed for Arizona State to finish this season, and they are going to have a tough road to ending regular season Big 12 play on the right note, because they have to take on the 23-7, the second overall team in the Big 12, 14-5 in conference, the number 9 team in the country, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Now, you can look at the most recent game that these two teams played, and it was a double overtime thriller where Texas Tech dropped 111 to ASU's 106. Of course, JT Toppin just going absolutely insane in that game. And the only difference now between then is you're not going to have BJ Freeman on your squad, who in that game was second leading scorer, 21 points on the night, 3 assists, 3 steals for BJ Freeman, who shot 8 of 17 from the field and played 45 minutes that night. You got a great Amir Ali game, 18 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, only 2 fouls in 34 minutes, shooting 6 of 7 from the field, 4 of 5 from deep. You had a great game from Adam Miller, who scored 22, a team-leading 22 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. Alston Mason, 6 assists, 16 points. Not a bad outing from Mason either. You're going to need in the absence of BJ Freeman in a game that the only reason that you were in it against Tech being the fact that you scored so much, you are going to need scoring to come from other places. Now, Adam Miller's 22. Well, you're going to need Adam Miller to play. So if Adam Miller can play, getting you 22, I think is on the table, especially knowing that he's going to have to take a lot of shots and play a lot of minutes, even if it doesn't go to overtime. Alston Mason's been on a scoring kick as of late. He's going to have to bump up that 16 to somewhere in the 20s, right? Sean Phillips Jr. had a good game, 15.6 rebounds. You're going to need that out of him. But there are two players that if Arizona State wants to upset Texas Tech, this is the recipe. Bashir Jihad, Josan Sanin. Combined 14 points on the night between the two of them. 14 points. They both played under 30 minutes in a double overtime game where there were only 7 players in the rotation. If you are going to beat the number 9 team in the country, if you're going to do that, you are going to need the players who did not step up to step up along with the players who did when you host Texas Tech at home in just 2 days, 6 p.m. tip-off. That one, of course, on Saturday night. We will be having a post-game show for that, and of course, we'll also be doing a post-game show for the Big 12 tournament game as well. Some Harden talk about Harden potentially being a coach. Danny says James Harden as a coach would be nice, but we would have to wait until he retires from the NBA. And William says, honestly, can't say Harden's offensive scheme would be different than Hurley's. I don't know if I want Harden coaching. I love Harden as a basketball player. I don't see Harden as a coach. I think as an ambassador, I think Bobby and James Harden as ambassadors to the program would be electric and would actually be a massive positive for this program. Gerald says JQ will not play the rest of this year. He will not be a Sun Devil next year. His family doesn't want him to be the next Greg Oden. Yeah, I don't think he plays this year. I would say it's likely he's not back next year. I don't want to rule it out completely. But it wouldn't shock me if he gets a massive NIL deal from a UConn, from a Kentucky, from a Kansas, from a Baylor. It wouldn't shock me at all. Javier says, at PHNX, I'm assuming you're meaning at me. So you want Bobby fired. Who do you honestly think you can get? I mean, look at GCU, what Bryce Drew has done, and he has the support. I don't think Bobby has that. I think Bobby has the support now. I will say that Arizona State as a basketball program has been undersupported and underfunded for too long now, but I have faith in Graham Rossini and I have faith in this athletic department to get the proper funding, and you do have enough funding to get a guy like Jaden Quaintance, to get a guy like Josan Sanin, and even had a 4-star Amir Ali in there. So I don't think it's nothing. Who can you get that's better than Bobby? That's a great question, and that is a question that we've talked a lot about. And I think that it's completely on the table. And as somebody who has said, hey, I'm ready to move on, I think it's completely on the table that you end up being worse in the short term. I think it's completely on the table. I think you have a chance to lower your floor without Bobby. But that being said, I think that you have to take that risk to raise your ceiling in the Big 12 and potentially raise your floor. I don't even care who the name is. Bryce Drew's awesome. Randy Bennett, awesome. Rick says, hire Mike Woodson, awesome. I don't want somebody who's just going to come in here and try to be a big name. I want somebody who's going to come in and love this program and love this city and invest in this city. Mango Man says, bring Steve Nash in or something. I'm okay. I'm good on that. I don't want Steve Nash coaching my college basketball program. You need a coach that is ready for this new era of NIL. I don't know if Steve Nash or James Harden is the right coach for that. But I will say this as we move on from the coaching part. If there's anything that you can hold on to for ASU maybe picking up a tournament win, ASU women's basketball, who's also had a disaster of a season, they picked up a massive first-round win against Cincinnati in the Big 12 tournament, despite being 10-21, and of course the underdog against Cincinnati. They are moving on to take on Iowa State in the second round of the Big 12 tournament. Let me find you what time that game is on, because 4:30 p.m. today. 4:30 today. Be there, be square. Watch ASU women's basketball take on Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament. That would be a massive upset if they can beat Iowa State, who is unranked, but they are 21-10, 12-6 in conference. Of course, ASU 10-21, 3-15 in conference. But You'll have to see. Tune into that at 4:30. Of course, Saturday we'll have a post-game show for ASU men's basketball taking on Texas Tech for the final game of the season. And the next week we will have a post-game for the Big 12 tournament. Danny, I agree. Upgrading DFA would be nice. William says, honestly, get someone who's great at X's and O's. Nash might be the best former NBA player for that. Recruiting can be done by whoever the GM is. I just don't need a big name retread around this program right now. I just don't think that that's the way to go, personally. But that's just me. I am not Graham Rossini, no matter how many people confuse us because we look so alike. That was a joke. And this is a break. I gotta stop doing the car thing. It started off as a bit, and now it's like 2 weeks strong. That's it. That's the last one. I'm marking it dead on arrival. Right here and right now, but NASCAR not dead on arrival. They return to Phoenix Raceway March 7th through the 9th, and all the stars of NASCAR battle it out in the Shriner Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway. There is nothing, and I emphasize nothing, like live NASCAR battle at 200 miles per hour on a 1 mile oval raceway on the foothills of the Estrella Mountains. That is 40 drivers who will compete amongst the likes of Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, and 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion Joey Logano. It's the best in-class fan experience the family won't forget. I'll never forget driving up and going into Phoenix Raceway. It is such an incredible location and atmosphere. It's the best experience that you can get, especially for NASCAR, especially locally. Get your tickets now at PHNXRaceway.com. Speaking of the best, how about the best slice in town, supporting maybe not the best team in town, but a team that I love very dear to my heart, the Phoenix Suns, and their official pizza, Spinatos. Listen, the best thing to do at Spinatos is get the pizza, but you can also show up for their watch parties that feature Phoenix Suns dancers and the Gorilla. They're doing a basketball and horse contest, but spelling pizza instead of horse. And of course, both the parties and the contest give fans a chance to win free Suns tickets and free pizza. And right now, maybe you want the free pizza instead of the free Suns tickets. Mark your calendar, Suns fans. The excitement starts at Spinatos. Get all the info on the watch parties and pizza basketball contests at SpinatosPizzeria.com. Listen, I'll let you know personally, I love getting all sorts of different types of pizza. Everybody asks me, Eric, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite type of pizza? I can't really give you an answer because it just depends on the day. It depends on the mood. But no matter the mood, it is the best place to go to. That is Spinatos, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. What's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all hanging out with us right now. Thank you all so much for dropping your comments. Thank you all for just hanging around as well. I do want to remind everybody that we do have a massive golf tournament coming up that you are going to want to be in with. That, of course, is the PHNX Green Jacket Open on April 12th. It is a scramble at Dobson Ranch Golf Course, 2 p.m., shotgun start, limited edition PHNX gift pack. But, of course, we're having a Masters watch party beforehand, food and drinks afterwards. All of that included. You can sign up as a foursome or you can sign up individually, all at gophnx.com/events. Our golf events, honestly, I'll put my hand up. I'm not a golf guy, okay? I'm not a golf guy. But our golf events are the coolest thing that we do as far as live events go. Of course, we have our watch parties. We have PHNX Suns watch party on Sunday at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You know, we have so much that we do as far as live events go, and I love all of it. But these golf events are massive. If you like golfing, if you like PHNX, you want to meet some like-minded people, hang out with us. I know Totri's going to be golfing. I'll probably be there just hanging out, probably getting a little tipsy, all over at Dobson Ranch Golf Course, April 12th. Come hang out with the crew. Speaking of hanging out, I think Anthony Totri is going to be here any second now. Who really knows? He is the international man of mystery, but the reason why he was gone was, of course, because he was talking to all of the ASU assistant coaches. Now, we got sound from Jason Mons. We have sound from Sean Aguano. And we're going to be playing that for you. Let's start with Jason Mons, of course, tight end coach, massive part of Arizona State's success. And he was asked if any of the coaching staff took some time since the end of the season, the last 2 months, which is crazy. It's been 2 months. The last 2 months to reflect on just how great things went in the past football season?
Yeah, I would actually say we started appreciating it during the season. Sean, Charlie, and I have kind of built a special bond, and every time we would go on the road, if we had a later start on a road game, we would go get dinner the night before. Once the team meeting was done and the players were on their own for free time, we would slip away. And I think as the season started progressing, we just started having conversations like, man, this is really cool. It's really special to see when you build a program the right way, you bring in good people that care about a place, and you recruit players that want to be here, and you see it come together. It was pretty unique. So we started having those conversations, not patting ourselves on the back or not crowning ourselves anything, because we knew there was a lot of work ahead, but just feeling in the moment like we are a part of something pretty special here. It obviously started turning the corner. We got through that Oklahoma State game. Like, man, it's got 6 wins, and we keep finding ways to win games, and there was just a special vibe around the team. And so, I think the three of us, having been around, winning programs for a while, you could feel that there was something unique and something special about the team.
I thought the coolest thing that was said in there was that he mentioned that these coaches know what it's like to be around a winning program. And I think a lot of people discredit that when you jump from level to level. Listen, Arizona State football has some of the greatest, and I'm not being hyperbolic, some of the greatest coaches in Arizona high school football history, coaching one roster. And in Little League, in middle school, in high school, in college, in pros, whatever it is, when you're winning and you're surrounded by a team that's just got that just got that something special around it, like those signs and those patterns show up. And so to be these coaches who have had these coaching experiences and have been so good at other stops, the fact that they could sit down in the middle of the season and be like, oh crap, we might be good. Like, we might be really good. And that is something that I think was underrated when you're talking about why ASU was able to sustain a level of success that shocked everybody this year, is because from Kenny down, whole staff was built of winners. Whole staff was built of winning coaches on multiple different levels. And I think that's massively important. Plus, I like the fact that they were enjoying it during the season as well, because, of course, we were also enjoying it during the season. Obviously, something we're not going to be able to enjoy is we will have no Cam Skattebo for this next upcoming season. So, of course, the question that running backs coach Sean Iguana was asked was, how are you going to replace him?
No, it's going to be interesting. The competition, I look forward to it. I just had that conversation with someone that, it's the same feeling that you had. Who's going to be after Eno? Who's going to be after Rashad? Who's the next guy? And so I think that we have a room that can step up for that. And so we'll see how it goes. But he was special.
Yeah, I mean, he was special. He is special. We'll have more on Cam and what he needs to do to replace him. But, of course, a big part about how you're going to at least replace production from Cam Skattebo is Kanye Udau, who is kind of an unknown for Arizona State fans. Obviously, you can go watch his film over at Army, but this is what, of course, the guy who helped recruit him and who will now be coaching him had to say about the former Army running back.
I liked his downhill one-cut ability. Now I haven't seen him in full force working with me from the flexibility side and diversifying, catching football out of the backfield. So I got to see that still. But I'm excited about his bigness, his toughness, especially from a mental standpoint. He's tough as nails now. So he's been 3 years at West Point, and so he had no reason not to be. So
rubbing off on other guys like West Point's.
Yeah, everything he does is professional, and he's a guy that sits back and processes well. So some people try to figure out, is he mad at me or not? He's just listening the whole time, and I think that's from the training at West Point. But no, I'm excited to see what he brings to the table.
And would you look at that? Anthony Totri has appeared out of nowhere. Obviously, Totri, that sound courtesy of you. We have some more Iguano sound to get through here in a second, but I just want to know kind of your takeaways from your first time talking to these assistant coaches for the first time in a couple months.
Yeah, man. First off, it's great to be back out there.
A spring ball's coming up. I can see the light in your eyes.
It really is awesome. And not just the light in my eyes, but the light in the eyes of the coaches out there, man. They're really, really excited to get after it. Had the pleasure of talking with Brian Ward, Marcus Arroyo, pretty much all the assistants out there Some of the stuff that, they said we'll get into, but just like observation stuff for me, right? Because all the players in there as well, obviously having their lunch. Cam Dyer, who is going to be dealing with his recovery. I imagine most of spring ball probably going into the season.
New Mexico Gatorade Player of the Year.
He's a big dude.
Quarterback turned wide receiver.
Like it's one thing to be listed at, I believe he's listed at 6'4", I believe.
I think, let me look at it.
He is every inch of 6'4". He is a big dude.
Yeah, 6'4", 200.
Yeah.
No way
he looks
200.
bigger. He looks bigger than 200 pounds. You obviously get him in the weight room. I can't imagine that there's going to be a lot for him actually on the table to play this season. But again, just observation-wise, he is a big dude. Keyshawn Elliott, Cyrus Fiaseu, we saw in there as well. Kind of the same thing, guys looking bigger. And a lot of them looking just like healthy and fresh, right? Obviously, being able to take some time off.
I hope so, right?
Being able to take some time off really helps. And then kind of the big takeaway for me is we finally got confirmation that Ben Coleman should be moving to center. I know Will put that in the chat, but we'll be moving from that left guard spot to center to try and fill the void left by Lee Fautanu. So that's going to be huge. I think being able to have some consistency there.
Some experience, like some veteran experience on the line
is going to be huge.
Well.
Is going to be absolutely huge. And then another thing, Mad Max, your starting right tackle for Arizona State, is going to miss the entirety of spring ball. So they're going to be just really trying to work in maybe some of these younger guys, some of these transfers, just to get a better idea as to who can be that backup, maybe who can be a rotational piece on the offensive line. Champ Westbrooks, I believe somebody brought it up on social media too. He is a guy that has been all about Arizona State since he committed to ASU.
He called the Big 12 championship.
He did. He came to ASU as a true freshman last year at 245 pounds. He is now up to 290 pounds.
Same.
Big dude. Big dude.
That's a 45-pound increase
in a year.
Is pretty crazy. Speaking of offensive line, I'm sure we haven't gotten anything, but I just got to ask because I'm sure other people are going to ask anything about Jason Clem.
He's fully cleared.
Fully cleared.
He is ready to go. He will be out there.
Have you seen him?
I have not seen Jalen Clem.
Because I haven't either, and I'm not trying to speculate or anything, but offensive linemen, when they're out for a little bit, like it's going to take a little bit
He's definitely a little thinner. Last I heard, he was a little bit thinner than when he initially arrived on campus. Obviously, he dealt with some stuff over the entirety of last season, so he's going to have to really get back into game shape. Luckily for him, Arizona State doesn't play for still 170 plus days.
And if you've got him returning, you've got a Big Bo from Texas State, which just off name alone, offense. I love that we're talking.
You might get lucky.
I love we're talking offensive line.
You might get lucky. A Big Bo might start. To
be
honest with you,
I might be the biggest Big Bo fan. Out there.
He's an absolute unit.
A Big Bo? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the Texas State transfer. I think fits pretty nicely at that left guard spot with Coleman kicking into center. So I think you can have like a tentative offensive line. I still don't know what the left tackle position is going to look like. I know Saga out there is talking a big game for Josh Atkins, had a great offseason. Obviously the progress that he made last season, I think there is going to be some serious competition on the offensive line despite 4 starters coming back, whether that be at that left tackle spot with Atkins versus Clem, a Big Bo maybe at left guard, Ben Coleman at center, Kyle Scott at right guard, and then with Max out for spring, then having to deal with, what if Champ ends up turning into a really, really promising right tackle right throughout spring. Now, obviously, that's a big jump, but these are all the little things. And again,
the depth.
Yeah.
Is there a clarification on Max's injury?
I haven't heard specifically on why Max will be missing spring ball. I don't want to speculate on that. Probably. Yeah.
I know you guys have beef.
Me and Max have beef. The only beef I have with Max is I still can't pronounce his last name.
I know, that's why you call him Mad Max.
People can tell me his last name all they want.
And we can't pronounce like regular 2-syllable names.
Nah. So you give me a name with like 8 different vowels in it and like a bunch of you're Mad Max to me. that's what we're gonna leave it at that. But offensive line, man, is gonna be one of the more intense competitions, I think.
That's what I like to hear.
Which is kind of a unique spot because I think going into this offseason after hearing about the number of offensive linemen that were returning, maybe you didn't expect to have that much realistic competition up in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball. But I think you're going to get that. I think there are a couple players defensively that some of the position coaches are really amped to see get back out there. Obviously, we talked with Brian Carrington, the DB's coach for Arizona State, kind of asked him what the next step is for a guy like Keith Abney. And he said production, right? You want to see production more than you saw last season already from a guy that's playing CB1. He really, really loves the two, I believe, Purdue corners that they were able to snag from the portal.
Nyland Green
and the other Breedlove. I think.
Yeah. Is it Caleb Breedlove?
Kendrick Breedlove.
Kendrick.
Something along those lines. Wow, there's a guitar company with Breedlove in it. That's interesting.
Kendrick Breedlove.
Kendrick Breedlove.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Another just wild name. But yeah, the assistant coaches are really, really big on some of the guys that they were able to get. We talked with Sean Aguano. Obviously, you were able to play some of that sound. Marcus Arroyo is another one which unfortunately, I wasn't able to send the entirety of that interview because it was about 20 minutes long.
Jeez.
But a lot of really good stuff from Marcus Arroyo just in terms of the process and how you go about replacing a Cam Scadaboo, what he really liked about some of the wide receivers that they were able to get, what he liked about Kanye Udo. I mean, a bunch of stuff that's obviously going to be up on PHNX Sports, the YouTube channel, social media, all that stuff a little bit later.
And if you're in our Discord, feel free to shoot questions over to Totri if you have anything specific on what he picked up. You mentioned Sean Aguano. We do have some sound with him, and it also relates to that offensive line conversation that we talked about. So guess what you get to do since you just showed up? You don't get to read any of these ads.
Wow.
You can just sit back. I got this, okay?
That's incredible.
I got this. You hang out. We'll be back after our final break. Just kidding. You have to read both. Psych. Listen, it is Truck Month. I'm so sorry that I forgot to say Happy Truck Month to you.
Thank you.
Anthony Totri, to you, Captain Redbeard, and of course to you, all of our wonderful watchers and listeners. And of course, as Arizona's largest Ford dealership, Sanderson Ford, they have hundreds of trucks on the lot, and all of them are marked down with big discounts for Truck Month. Choose from the entire lineup of Mavericks, Rangers, F-150s, and Super Duties. If you want more off-road capabilities, well, check out the full-size Broncos and Bronco Sports, also marked down for Truck Month. That's how much they love you. They're marking down non-trucks for Truck Month.
I need to get in one of those trucks.
You really do. But disclaimer, 2024 models, finance offers up to 36 months of OAC through Ford credit. Discounts include Ford rebates, Sanderson discount plus trade assistance and Conquest cash you must qualify for. Offers expire on March 31st, of course, the end of Truck Month. But while you're there getting a great deal, stop by the Starliner Diner, get a nice meal. And of course, it's no pressure, no hassle, no nonsense while you're there. You're not going to show up and get put in an uncomfortable situation signing a contract that you just don't want to sign. That's not how they do business over at Sanderson Ford. And it is March. John Rothstein has arrived. He has awoken, and so have our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Catch all the March action at the BetMGM Sportsbooks. They've got a perfect setup for every fan. Reserve seating at Wild Horse Pass and Santan Mountain, and enjoy the excitement with open seating at Lone Butte and VQuiva. Bet on the madness and experience the thrill. I can tell you from firsthand, it's so much fun to go watch these games, to go be in a place like Gila River Resorts and Casinos where you can sit back with other people. Maybe some people just won some money. Maybe they just lost some money. Either way, they're drinking. They're having a good time. And of course, there's so much madness. And there's so many TVs, different sports book, everything that you could do over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And maybe if you're not interested in the basketball part of it, just go for a staycation. Bring your family, bring your friends, or get away from your family. Get away from your friends. Go hit their state-of-the-art gaming table, upscale dining, or approachable and affordable dining as well. They have everything in between over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. You mentioned Coach Sean Aguano, and he was asked, like, basically every question was about Cam Scadaboo.
Pretty much.
And he was asked, how do you replace Cam Scadaboo? But then he was also asked about, like, specifically on the field when it comes to what Cam does. What's going to be the hardest thing for you to recreate?
Whenever you look at the running back, I think it's the yards after contact, and things that, I thought the offensive line did an incredible job this year. And we asked for 3-4 yards, and that's an efficient play. Now, efficient to Cam Scadaboo is hit after 3 or 4, and then he goes 30. And so those are the things that, how do you make up those yards in this offense coming up, and who is going to replace those? And hopefully there's running backs that watched him, and that's the important part, is the yards after contact that we can't make up.
I love that he said, hopefully there's running backs that watched him, right? Obviously, you have
Who hasn't?
All those guys, literally, I guess at this point, all those backs that were in the backfield. Scat said a number of times how close he is with that room and how important that was to have that relationship with all those guys last season. But we talked with Kanye, right? When he transferred to Arizona State, he knew of Cam Scatterbo. There was guys telling him, hey, go check out this dude from Arizona State. And it slowly started to build. And now he's here, obviously, at ASU. But I think kind of getting into that deeper question of how do you replace Cam Scatterbo, that's not just a question that's going to be asked now. It's not going to just be a question that's asked during fall ball. It's going to be something that's asked all season
until
long.
they do it.
Literally 2,700 yards of offense, 20-plus touchdowns is something Marcus was asked and touched on as well today. And the way that Marcus kind of broke it down, and it's interesting to sit back and watch a coach just kind of divulge all their,
like when they lock in while they're answering.
Well, it's literally he was like, I would go through and he separated all of pretty much every play that Scat had last season, right? And he was able to really break them up, and he's got a category, or he called it like a box of plays where he called them Scat plays that only Scat
the scatter box
will make. Right? Like the touchdown pass in the college football playoff game to Malik McClain.
Yeah.
Some of those breakaway touchdown runs against Utah where it's ridiculous how he's able to stay up, right? Those are a number of plays this past season that you realistically are just getting from a guy like Cam Scatterbo.
Who's different.
A guy that Sean Aguano said it was a generational type of running back, and I don't think he's wrong there. So to be able to replace those 2,700 yards, I think there's going to be immediately a lot of outside pressure on the running back, right? Whether that is a Kyson Brown, maybe that's Raleek Brown coming back, maybe that is a Kanye Udoh coming back. But the way that Marcus broke it up is, okay, we have 2,700 yards and 20-plus touchdowns to really spread around here. How do we do that? Well, maybe it's not necessarily doing it just in the ground game with a new running back. Maybe with some of these new wide receivers, we're able to get involved with unique plays and sets. Maybe it's Kamari Anderson, a new tight end, obviously from Kentucky. Maybe it's Shaman. Maybe you put some of that now on Sam Levitt and what he does in the ground game, right? So this is not going to be just, okay, we're going to hand the keys to Kanye or Kyson, and, well, we're going to see if they can replicate what Cam Scatterbo do. Because they're not Cam Scatterbo, right? They're their own running back. And by me saying that they're not Cam Scatterbo, that's not a knock on them. That's just saying that they're their own player.
There's
their
only
own
one Cam Scatterbo.
Right? They're their own player. They're going to play and perform differently than Scat did. So don't expect heading into spring ball or fall camp or even, the first game of the season to have a running back that's, again, going to go for 2,000 plus all-purpose yards, 20-plus touchdowns. It's an unrealistic expectation. But what you can expect is more weapons in this Arizona State offense getting utilized than maybe they did last season. Because quite frankly, there were points last season where it's like, hey, we're just going to hand it to the dude that's averaging 8-9 yards a carry and scoring a touchdown or two.
Because they were calling the right play each time, and that was the right play. And I have full confidence that they're going to figure out what the right play is for them. I don't think you're going to replace Scat, obviously, but I also think that the answer to how you're going to replace Cam Scatterbo, it might just be, hey, now we have the best wide receiver in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Right? Like our offense might just look a little different.
Yeah.
Right? You have possibly the best quarterback in college football. And you have one of the best wide receivers in college football and possibly the best wide receiver in the Big 12.
Top 3 quarterback and wide receiver in respective, not even duo. I think Sam Levitt's a top 3 quarterback in the country. I think Jordan Tyson's a top 3 wide receiver in the country.
And then together,
they're the number 1 duo in college.
Is there any other combination like that?
No, there is not of that caliber that did what they did in the Big 12. There isn't.
So while you look at our offense last season and you say it was so Cam Scatterbo heavy, and then it was like a dose of, as the season went on, Jordan Tyson kind of caught up a little bit. Then when he went down, it was X, right? It might be the opposite this year.
Yeah.
You go into this year and your offense is predicated on your air game, and then your ground game kind of catches up. Well, it catches its footing, and Kanye and Kyson, they just kind of get going, right? So I have a feeling that that's at least how we're going to start the season, is going to be a little bit more pass heavy, because you also have your top tight end transfer, top tight end target in Shaman Mateer as well. So those are constants for you. So I wouldn't be surprised if the offense looks a little bit more like that, at least at the beginning, and then maybe shifts back to the style that they like to do, because we know Kenny and company like to run the ball.
They love to run the ball, right? And Marcus had a really, really good point. And these are all things that, like, you knew as they were happening, but I think it's one thing now that the season has transpired and you're so far removed from realistically that entire year, right? It's time to turn the page. It's kind of what they've said out there. It's what Kenny has said a number of times. Is you look at when we headed into spring ball last year, it was like, okay, Cam Scatterbo looks different. He was a dog the year before for a 3-9 team. Do you expect him to have a great year? Did you expect him to do what he did last year and break all these records? Probably not. But Arizona State kind of, like, they had their hands tied behind their back, right? Like Marcus said it today. He's like, well, our tight end transferred, our leading wide receiver transferred, and our quarterback was brand new, and our other quarterback transferred, right? So realistically, the only real returner you had on that offense that was a serious contributor was Cam Scatterbo. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, after spring ball was over, right, that was about the time when you had Elijah Badger transfer, when you had Bryce Pierre transfer. Like, this was almost okay, like, we have to do this because of where we're at in a position. Now you can look at this offense, and it almost feels like a little bit of an embarrassment of riches, because
you don't have to do anything.
You don't have to run strictly the offense that you ran last season, and I don't anticipate that. I think this year it's going to be Sam Leavitt's team, like Scat told the Cards peeps over at the Combine, right? Like, this is Sam Leavitt's team. Marcus said it. He's like, the thing he's looking forward to most this season is that the game is going to slow down for Sam Leavitt, right? And there's a balance. There's a balance of, like, okay, how do we push that a little bit so we don't get comfortable just doing what we did last season, but also adding new wrinkles, adding new layers to make yourself not predictable going into this season.
Well, do you want to know what everybody's doing right now? Every team in the Big 12 is doing right now?
Tell me.
They're watching Arizona State tape.
Yeah.
Because they know who the biggest threat is going into next season.
Hey, you can watch the tape all you want. That's going to be a new look offense.
And that is why you have faith and confidence in this coaching staff. Right? It's not about replacing Cam Scatterbo. It's about moving on from Cam Scatterbo, respectfully. You're not trying to go into the season to recapture that magic. You're trying to make new magic.
Exactly.
And you've done that by setting a new standard, and you were able to talk to defensive line coach Deron Reynolds. And he talked about the new standard at Arizona State University.
I mean, I think everybody's kind of stepping up. I don't know if it's one guy or the other, but I'm just seeing guys talk and push each other better. You know, where, you know, we were in situations last year, guys were reluctant to, you know, we don't call it calling each other out, but calling each other up, you know, calling each other up to the standard. And I think everybody's doing a better job of that this year, you know, holding each other accountable.
As a Suns fan, I just got PTSD from the Monty Williams era when a bald man with a goatee just said, I'm calling you out, not calling you up. Whew, okay. But I like what he's saying. I think it's interesting also the fact that he mentioned, like, they're even at a better spot than they were a year ago today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but, like, as far as, like, calling each other out and up,
and I think that, again, like, you look at where this program was at last season, and there were a lot of questions about where, you know, what was the jump going to be in year 2 of Kenny Dillingham? Because I'll be honest, my expectation was that you would see more success in year 3 than you were going to see year 2, right? The standard was always going to be like, okay, you were 3-9 year 1, you dealt with exactly. It was supposed to be a little bit of like a gradual build. Instead, it was boom, we're skyrocketing. But again, what's the expectation of where you go from here, right? Because you're not going to probably go year 1 here to year 2 here to year 3 here. Right, like I think
we didn't think we could hear, so maybe.
Well, again,
no, but you're right. It's unrealistic to expect that big of a leap again. I mean, they can't even take that big.
No,
of a leap
I don't think
again.
you could take that big of a leap, but it's about remaining at that peak, right? About consistently being a college football playoff team, constantly being in the top 3 of the Big 12 year over year. And I think this is another year where you have your quarterback returning, you have your wide receiver returning, you have Xavier Alford returning, you have a number of other defensive players returning that know what that standard is, that know, okay, what it took to get to the college football playoff, what it took to win however many close one-score games Arizona State had to win. And now, as every team does, you went and you added certain pieces from the transfer portal, from recruiting, et cetera. And it's like, okay, how are these guys going to fit in to what we do? Well, that's a question that 9 times out of 10 you have to get answered during the season, right? You could go through the meetings, you can go through the workouts, you can go through practice, you can go through preparation all you want, but you're not going to really see who these players are until you see them on the field up against somebody that's not also wearing an Arizona State jersey. And I think that's what Deron Reynolds is getting at in terms of the standard here, right? Is like, there are certain things that Xavier Alford, Cam Scattaboo, Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, CJ Fight did during spring ball, during fall camp, during Camp Tontozona, during some of the games, during the bye weeks, that helped get this team ultimately to the college football playoff and where they wanted to go. It's about keeping those same habits and really early on trying to get some of these new guys ingrained in what that means so that you don't have to do it when fall camp starts.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're watching on TV, the party always continues over at gophnx.com. And while we won't know exactly who this team is until they get to the season, they are going to drop breadcrumbs along the way. We could tell that there was something special based off of spring ball camp T. We didn't know how special, but we knew that something was going on at ASU. And you guys knew that because you followed us for that coverage. Spring ball coming up. You want to make sure you follow at Anthony _Totri. And of course, you can follow the show at PHNX _Sun Devils. If you are looking for, of course, all your ASU hoops and football talk, you can follow me at ErikRuby. And also, if you are a miserable psycho Suns fan, hey, they got a win last time.
Hey, they got, what's his name?
Colin Gillespie,
there
baby.
He is. Colin
the
Gillespie.
Savior. If you want to hear more about that, we do have a Suns show later today. Make sure you lock in with that at 3 o'clock. It'll be me, Steven, and Gerald. And of course, we do pre and post game shows for all Suns as well. And of course, we have Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Rising. Mercury just had a show today. You got U of A, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're around.
They're around. Great guys, great show, but U of A.
Horrible program.
Yuck.
Horrible program.
Make sure you become a diehard. Go phnx.com/join. And until then, go Devils and peace.
We all silly like the mayor.